Chimaev, a native of Chechnya, Russia, who fights out of Sweden, hasn't just been dominant, he has been scary. He also might be the most hyped prospect in modern UFC history. And unlike former heavyweight champion Brock Lesnar, who parlayed his celebrity as a former WWE superstar into overnight success and unlikely UFC title run, Chimaev came from relative obscurity when he debuted in 2020.
And he stays undefeated with an absolutely outstanding debut.
With the exception of a 2017 interview making the rounds this week in which Brian Stann, a former UFC fighter and broadcaster, may have predicted Chimaev would one day make noise in the octagon.
There's a welterweight in Sweden, at Sweden MMA All-Stars, that trains Alexander Gustafsson. I don't know his name, I just know him by reputation. And he's not in the UFC yet, but he has a whole lot of success over all the big names that train at MMA's All-Stars in Stockholm. And when we get this kid signed, I think he's going to make some real waves.
Few mainstream observers have even heard of him ahead of his UFC debut. But it didn't take long for Chimaev to become an instant star of the early pandemic for UFC, when a handful of fighters took advantage of global travel restrictions to score a series of victories in succession. Not only did Chimaev record a trio stoppage victories in his first 2 months as a UFC fighter, but 2 of them also came in a record span of just 10 days. Chimaev was as destructive as any UFC rookie before him, but the even scarier part was how efficient he was in finishing them. The only thing comparable to what he's done in UFC history is what Ronda Rousey did during her reign as women's bantamweight champion, when she knocked out Alexis Davis in 16 seconds, submitted Kat Zingano in 14 seconds.
Ronda wants to make it happen quickly.
There's the arm.
It is all over!
And KO'd Beth Correa in 34 seconds. Rousey didn't stand the test of time, and 2 fights after her win over Correa, she was knocked out twice and out of MMA forever. Only time will tell how Chimaev's story plays out. But he's no fluke, and he's proven it time and again.
Everybody, I come here for everybody, kill everybody, I'm the champ, I'm the king.
Welcome to the age of MMA. Enjoy this video. Chimaev was born in the Chechen Republic of Russia, where he started wrestling when he was 5 years old. In 2013, when he was 18, he immigrated to Sweden with his mother, joining his older brother. Chimaev first started training in MMA when he was 23 years old. He trains at All-Star Training Center in Stockholm along with 3-time UFC lightweight heavy and championship challenger Alexander Gustafsson, Ilir Latifi, and Reza Madadi, among others. Gustafsson, one of his main training partners, told a Swedish reporter that Chimaev was one of the best fighters he had ever trained with. Between September 2017 and April 2018, Chimaev had 3 amateur MMA fights. The first of them was against future IMMAF world champion Khaled Lalam, whom he defeated via submission in the second round. He won his following 2 amateur fights, one by submission and one by technical knockout, completing his amateur career with a record 3-0. Chimaev turned professional in 2018, and since then he's been continuously showing that he is a beast. And in this video, we will show you how. He almost doesn't seem human. He does things easily that other fighters, even UFC champions, legends, and Hall of Famers struggle to do. Here are the 7 times Khamzat came out to be on a whole new level. Number 7. The undefeated versus the undefeated. In his final fight before joining the UFC, Khamzat Chimaev locked horns with South African fighter Iswandile Holongwa at Brave CF 27. Both Chimaev and Holongwa came into the bout with perfect professional records, making this contest a high-stakes affair. Holongwa was a highly touted knockout artist who was competing under the Brave CF banner for the very first time. All of the wins in his professional career thus far came via KO TKO, and he was looking to add Chimaev to his list of victims. The fight started in the same way as almost all Chimaev's previous bouts. Boers secured a takedown and controlled Holongwa for the entirety of the first round, negating the South African's striking prowess. In the second round, Chimaev got a hold of Holongwa's hips and lifted him into the air. Instead of directly taking him down, the Russian-born Swede carried his opponent across the octagon and dumped him in front of his cornermen. He once again controlled the exchanges on the mat before locking in a Dawes choke that put Holongwa to sleep.
Strange air of expectancy when you have beaten two guys of this caliber. Big takedown by Boris Chimaev.
Held to rain down on top of Holongwa here with Chimaev. He'll do it with a sinister smile on his face.
Strikes very intelligent.
Changes levels and looks for that takedown again and got the two hands clasped outside. He's going to run over to his corner.
Oh, he went full back inside. Beautiful position as well. Oh, he's out.
He is out.
Number 6. The brutal uppercut. Ikram Aliskerov is the toughest fighter Khamzat Chimaev has ever fought. That's according to Chimaev himself, who dismissed claims in a pre-fight press conference that his UFC 273 opponent Gilbert Burns is the best opponent he's ever faced. I think one guy I met in Brave, Ikram Aliskerov, he has to be in the UFC. That guy's good. I think he won 5 fights after me. That guy's really good.
I think one guy I met in the Brave, Ikram Aliskerov, he has to be in the UFC. That guy is good. I think he won 5 fights after me, and that guy is really good.
Chimaev and Aliskerov met in 2019 at Brave CF 23. And while Aliskerov managed to resist several of Chimaev's takedowns and judo throws early into the fight, the result was a violent first-round knockout win for Chimaev. In his penultimate fight under the Brave CF banner, he took on Ikram Aliskerov, a combat sambo world champion with a high-level wrestling pedigree. Aliskerov held a professional record of 8-0 at the time, and many believed he would be the one to derail Chimaev's hype train.
No, gentlemen, this is going to be a pure ballet of violence. Counter right hand by Aliskerov, and Chimaev is back up to his feet, but that was a big shot landed by Khamzat Chimaev straight away. Are the cobwebs clear, Kieran? Yeah, he's changing stances from southpaw to orthodox.
Big kick through in by
Number 5. UFC debut Khamzat vs. John Phillips. The bell rang to start Khamzat Chimaev's fight with John Phillips in Abu Dhabi in 10 seconds hadn't elapsed before the announcers were roaring what Chimaev did. He came out immediately, hit Phillips with a head kick, dropped down, and executed a takedown. He then immediately shoved Phillips up against the cage where he could more easily pummel him. Look at that though. UFC analyst Michael Bisping shrieked. Just 6 seconds into the bout, a beautiful head kick straight into a double leg. My word, talk about executing your game plan. Chimaev outlanded Phillips 42-1 in a significant strikes and finished him with a Dawes choke at 1/12 of the second.
John Phillips plus 320, the underdog out of Southpaw stands in black. Khamzat.
Oh, man!
Shot.
Look at that though, a beautiful head kick straight into a double leg. I mean, my word, talk about executing your game plan. He's trying to work his way back up, but
Chimaev knows what he's doing here. He's got that leg locked up again.
Oh, dodge choke, wait for it.
That's it, Mike. He's got it.
There's the
tap. Khamzat Chimaev by submission. And he stays undefeated with an absolutely outstanding debut.
Number 4, winning 2 fights in 10 days. 10 days later, it got even better. Chimaev got his hands on Rhys McKee about 7 seconds into the fight. He picked McKee up, walked him to his own corner, and dumped McKee onto his back. He couldn't pick him up and fully slam him, but ultimately he gets where he wants him. UFC analyst Paul Felder said 14 seconds into the fight. Chimaev mounted McKee and finished him from there at 3:09 of the first. He landed 40 of the 62 significant strikes he threw. McKee, who had a reputation as a striker, was 0 of 0. The 26-year-old prodigy got the TKO after relentless ground and pound pressure at 3:09 of the first round, and became officially a terrifying problem for the welterweight division. "Where is my belt?" Soon, he turned around and said to the camera in the octagon.
I mean, what's that in 2 fights? He's taken no punches.
The unofficial stats had it 57 total strikes to 0 on Sunday morning. Chimaev had 124 to Phillips' 2 10 days back. Number 3, 17-second KO. Next up was middleweight Gerald Meerschaert. 14 seconds in, Chimaev landed a short right. Meerschaert collapsed in a heap and referee Mark Smith waved it off at 17 seconds. "You've got to be kidding me," play-by-play man John Anik said.
His plus 360. Meerschaert out of the southpaw stance in blue. Chimaev orthodox in black.
Chimaev straight on the pressure like he always does.
You gotta be kidding me!
You can't say much other than wow.
Not many fighters have been able to make as good an impression as Khamzat Chimaev did in his first few months in the UFC. The 27-year-old managed to build a 3-fight win streak in a period of fewer than 2 months. Chimaev won Performance of the Night bonuses for all 3 appearances. Number 2, utter victimization. Chimaev was matched up with first ever ranked opponent since his debut in the octagon, and it didn't take long for him to send a message to the rest of the welterweight division. He faced welterweight Li Jingliang, a wrestler. No matter the bell rang, Chimaev moved forward and at 4 seconds his arms were around Jingliang's waist. He picked up Jingliang, carried him to where UFC President Dana White was seated and tossed him down like yesterday's garbage. Only 13 seconds into the fight, UFC analyst Daniel Cormier was beside himself. "Nice job by Chimaev," Cormier said. "Oh my goodness, Chimaev, is talking to Dana. Oh my goodness." Seated a few feet from White, Hunter Campbell, the UFC's chief business officer, can be seen laughing as Chimaev talks to White, while beating on Jingliang. Chimaev was 25 for 25 in strikes and submitted Jingliang with a rear naked choke at 3:16 of the first.
Intensity personified on both sides. Li Jingliang in red, Khamzat Chimaev in black with an early shot.
Oh, nice defense by Lee. Oh, nice job by Chimaev. Oh, my goodness. He's talking to Dana. Oh, my goodness. Now he's got the right angle.
Oh, he's got to fight the hand. He's going to go to sleep if he doesn't fight the hand, DC.
It's over. It's over.
That's it. The hype is real. Khamzat Chimaev remarkably does it again.
Number 1, beating the big fish. With an almost mythic level of hype following him in, Khamzat Chimaev, then 10-0, entered the octagon inside ViceStar Veterans Memorial Arena to face former title challenger Gilbert Burns, 20-4, in what was the final stop on Chimaev's meteoric rise into title contention. Despite just 4 UFC appearances under his belt, the 27-year-old Chimaev was listed as high as a 500 betting favorite. To steamroll the battle-tested Burns in the same, he finished all 9 opponents since turning pro in 2018. And given both Burns' extensive edge in experience, not to mention the fact that he hurt and dropped defending champion Kamaru Usman in a 2021 title loss, it was hard to get over just how brazen those odds appeared to be. The fight was unlike all his previous fights. It answered most of the questions his doubters had about him. Now we know he can adjust his game plan when he can't score an early finish. Now we know he can take a hard shot. Now we know he has a solid gas tank, solid enough to fight for 3 hard rounds at least. The Chechen was given his toughest test to date in Burns last month, but outpointed the Brazilian in a back-and-forth fight. The fight boosted Chimaev's popularity even more, and he now boasts almost 4 million followers on Instagram. Khamzat Chimaev has also been warned by Gilbert Burns to not go down the same path as Conor McGregor after his recent success. McGregor's rise in the UFC was like no other, becoming the first fighter to hold 2 belts simultaneously in the promotion. In recent years, the Irishman has been involved in frequent legal troubles and has struggled to emulate the performances he had at the start of his UFC career. Burns thinks Chimaev should be careful with the people he surrounds himself with, labeling some of his current entourage as idiots. Time will tell the future, but for now, we can almost certainly say that Khamzat is an up-and-coming champion. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll be back with more amazing content on MMA. Peace out.
That's a flight thing. How you say in English?
Bird.
Bird. Flight thing.